Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me? Press your sound, even though it's on, press it again. Is it not working? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Okay. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Well, we're already recording. I have it recording right now. So good morning. Welcome to Coffee Convos.
Oh my gosh, your hair looks so cute.
Thanks. I did it myself.
I am impressed, Kail. Very impressed.
I really appreciate that. I was feeling good. It was like, it's Monday. I've been looking forward to this interview all weekend. So I felt like I should get myself together today.
Yes. So
especially because I'm about to talk shit.
Oh, okay. Well, you should always look good when you're talking shit. You can't be ugly and talking shit.
No, we can't be ugly and talking shit. That's for sure. So, okay, I'm gonna put my phone like right here in this plant so that we can get what we can for MTV.
I'm dead.
Okay, I have it in a plant right now. So,
is the plant faux or is
no? It's real. It's a real. It looks like a pineapple almost, actually. I forgot I was doing this part of it. So I have so much to tell you right now.
Well, tell me. I mean, don't leave anything out.
Don't hold back.
Don't hold back, ma'am.
There we go. Record. Okay. All right. So I was supposed to be filming for Teen Mom today, and I texted you over the weekend and was like, how do you feel about this? Agreed, cool, whatever. Yesterday got this random call from Chris's mom, which I haven't talked to her since last year. So I was like, this is not normal. See, Lux is like, there's something clearly wrong. Like, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to put his business out there, like his medical stuff, but I was like, something was very wrong. So I was like, this isn't okay. So I emailed Chris twice, call him 4 times. And I'm like, I am now making the executive decision to come get him because you're not responding and I'm not waiting for a response. Text his mom and I'm like, I'm on my way. I'm taking him to urgent care. Get to, first of all, they live an hour away. Get to the mom's house. Lux is there. Chris shows up. Creed is nowhere to be found. Why are you separating them when we are supposed to have visitation at your mom's house? Take Lux, go to the ER or go to the urgent care. Chris then is in the parking lot with Creed. Creed also has the same thing that Lux has. Why, when you noticed what was happening, did you not A, call me to, I don't know, for us to decide together that something was going on, something was clearly wrong, or B, decide, make it an executive decision to take them to urgent care and have me meet you there? Third,
with medical stuff, both parents should always be involved, like regardless of where they're at. Both parents should be informed. They should know what's going on. So at least there can be a conversation about what's about to transpire.
So when we get to urgent care, Chris tells me, I see Creed and I'm like, what the fuck? Like literal, what the fuck? He's like, oh, I'm going to take him in to see him to get seen too. And it's like, when did this happen? And he was like, I don't know, a couple days ago.
Like a couple of days ago, as in like when?
He said Friday. He thinks Friday, which is weird to me because so our son has had a fever over 100 and hasn't been eating and is very fatigued. And you're just now having him seen because I'm making it a big deal about Lux, but I didn't even know there was anything wrong with Creed and you couldn't inform me and let me know. So we get to the urgent care and the doctor's like, Lux is fine. You know, he does have, you know, whatever he has, plus he has this. So we're going to treat him accordingly. But Creed, she's like, however, he has a fever over 100 and babies this age with what they have can go downhill quickly. So she's like, I am going to have you guys transported to the ER nearby.
Kail, what were you by yourself at this point? Like, was Chris there?
No, Chris is just chilling, doing a question and answer on Instagram.
Wait, he was doing a Q&A in the parking lot?
In the waiting room. Everyone sent me screenshots. It's like, but this is a man that wants 50-50 when you cannot even tell me, like, if I was to describe to you, I'll tell you what, like, I didn't send Lux to school today just based on how his face looks. Like, I'll send you a picture. I will not say exactly what it is, but I'm talking like, I would not want him around kids just based on how his face looks. And you did not think to take them to the doctor. You did not think to call me and say, hey, Kail, do you think we should take them? Because fevers are iffy with Creed. So like, you know, that they're going to say rotate Tylenol and Motrin for, 48 hours or whatever that is. So like, watch it. But he had so many other symptoms and he had the exact same thing that Lux had that I don't understand like where the disconnect was. And I don't know like if his mom was like actually like trying to like let me know like, hey, this is going on. That's why I'm FaceTiming you. Like, I don't ever talk to you. But she also was not concerned. And she was like, oh, it's just this. Like, I had it too. No. So that's my drama. That's my tea. This is the same man that wants 50-50 custody, but can't even take the kids to the ER when they clearly need to be seen. Furthermore, you're staying at another home. He has, his second baby mom or whatever. He's staying with her with Creed.
Allegedly. Wait.
Allegedly.
Back up.
Cheers.
His second baby mom.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about?
He's having another baby and he's been staying with her with Creed, I guess. And Lux is staying with his mom. And then but he didn't think I would connect the fucking dots. But when I show up at your mom's house to get Lux and Creed's not there, where is he then? Because he's not staying the night with Chris's mom. You're in several contempts of court at this point.
Oh my God.
But I'm the problem. I'm the villain. I'm the drama. Kail is the villain, right?
Wait, I'm so nosy. When is this baby happening?
Next month.
Oh, wow. So like very far along.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know if it's a boy or girl or we don't
As
know?
far as I know, it's a boy.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How do you feel about this?
Oh, I don't care. It's like, if you want to be with her and like, you want to spend time with her, cool. Like, that's fine. But have her go to your mom's house because that's what the order says. And why are you separating the kids? They have the same dad. And I would really prefer if they were spending time together. There's no reason for you to drop one off at the mom's and go to the girlfriend's with the other. Just keep them together. Like, if you're going to drop one off, drop both off. You know what I'm saying? And you can go be with her or have the girlfriend go to your mom's house, because as far as if she goes into labor, like, let's not even talk about that. Like, if she goes into labor, you now have to get Creed up anyway and take him to your mom's. So why not just stay at your mom's or leave the kids at your mom's? Like, that's where they are supposed to be.
Wait, what you just said is so interesting. I would love to know people who have multiple children in divorce or just like custody situations, if you prefer for them to stay together or if it's okay for them to separate. Because I do know that when I was growing up, my brother and I were always together. Mm-hmm. Like we never were separated outside of when my parents initially went through custody. I think that my mom had my brother for a period of time and my dad had me. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, I feel like it would be super normal for the kids to be together. Like, it's a lot of transitions to go from your house with all four boys being together and then go somewhere else to like halftime be with their sibling, and then the other halftime they're either with like the grandmother or the dad and the other one's not there. That's a lot of.
I totally understand, like, sometimes, maybe grandma and Lux want to do something together, or like grandma might only have one of them because they're going to do something together, but like on a regular basis, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's just not, I mean, it literally states in the order that I have to expressly agree to him staying the night with the kids other places.
Do you have like a morality clause in your thing? Like, or when you went through divorce with Javi, did you guys have a morality clause where like no one could be around your kids for a certain period of time that you were dating? I've always wanted to ask you this.
I don't think that's in there.
Yeah, we have that.
I wish I had that.
Like,
Not only for them, but for me as well. Like, at least I would have to be held to the same standard. Like, I couldn't be able to like talk shit and then it's not the same for me. You know what I mean?
yes. I feel like moms sometimes are so hypocritical about stuff because
Yeah.
it's, I'm the mom, so I can do
X, Y, and Z.
I want to do, but like you can't do what you want to do.
Right.
I
Right.
try not to be hypocrite.
I try not to. I mean, I'm not saying it never happens, but you know, when we went through all of our custody stuff, I had someone come out, check out his mom's house, check out my house. She didn't check out girlfriend's house, and girlfriend was pregnant at the time, or ex-girlfriend or baby mama, whatever. Why? If just be honest, like if you're going to bring the kids there, that is okay. I do not want to be with you. I know that she does my son's hair. Like, I know, I'm not dumb. Just be honest about it. She should have had the evaluator go. He should have had the evaluator go there as well. So we could be like, okay, this checks off everything off the list. You don't have to lie to me. Like, I'm in a place where I don't care anymore. I would never try to get back with you. I would never try to interfere with your relationship, but like, just be honest, because then we don't have these problems. I mean, like, what it would take $1,700 and a private investigator to go follow you and be there and figure it out. And now there's my solid proof. Like, I've already done it once, I'll do it again. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like, just update the court, update me, talk to me about it. I'm going to say yes, but you need to talk to me. You need to have a conversation and be honest with me about it. And furthermore, what the fuck is she doing that she's not encouraging you to take the kids to the doctor? Clearly there was something wrong. It was on my kid's face. Like, now I question both of you. Now I question both of y'all and your mom, because none of you thought that this was a big deal and didn't even call me. I literally cussed out Joe for not telling me about a headache that Isaac was complaining about.
Do you think that they thought that it would like go away by the time you saw them, and like maybe that's why they didn't say anything?
Yes.
Like maybe they thought it was just like something that was like quick and would go away.
Probably.
And you would never.
Oh yeah, if you knew what the mom told me she thought it was, you would be like, what the fuck? I'm going to send you the screenshots because you're going to be like, what the fuck?
Oh my gosh. So wait, all of this is going on, and what were you doing on Thanksgiving? Like, what was happening?
On Thanksgiving, I thought it was my holiday with the kids. It wasn't. So I had to swallow that. That was a hard pill to swallow for me because I was wrong. So I dropped the kids off at the Wawa. At this point, Wawa should fucking sponsor me. At the Wawa with Chris. And I went home and I was in bed and I ate Kraft mac and cheese and dino nuggets. And it was a grand old time. I watched the ID channel. And then around maybe like 3, I decided I was going to go to Natalie's house, and I ate over there and it was a good time. And then I went home.
I love that. I love that for you. I talked about this on the Southern Tea last week, but this is a relevant question for anybody.
Yeah.
Are you Kraft or are you Velveeta?
I'm Kraft, 100% Kraft. Just give me all the powdered cheese. It's fine. But Velveeta is literally plastic. So.
But how? Like, it's literally like liquid gold.
I don't like it.
Like, squeeze it out of the pack. You're like, oh my God, this is going to be so fucking good. It's about to hit. Like, it's going to be so good.
No.
Yes. No. So good. So have you even had Velveeta?
Yeah, my mom made it for me a lot as a child. And I think that's why I like loathe it. Like, I'm just like I always wanted the Kraft.
I love that you had Kraft mac and cheese and dino nuggets for Thanksgiving.
Thank you. It was a great spread.
Every time we have dino nuggets, Jackson's always like,
he's like, does Kail know we're having dino nuggets?
Yeah, you should show Kail that we're having dino nuggets. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that she's aware what they look like at this point.
I love them as much as my kids love them. It's fine.
And by the way, I'm drinking an Alani.
I knew I could tell by the top. Is it the blueberry one? Is it protein or is it energy?
It's energy.
I love it. Yeah, they're so good. I actually left some at my boxing gym. I haven't been to the gym in 2 weeks, probably 3 weeks. I'm going to start back tomorrow.
I haven't been in forever, and that's so not like me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just haven't had time. Like I've been
Yeah, same.
other stuff, and it's like, where's the time gone?
Well, we need to do an update on Brian Laundrie while we're here.
Yes. So I need to know your feelings about this. I saw it come up on CNN. And for those of you who have followed the Brian Laundrie, Gabby Petito case, which has been pretty much the entire world, autopsy reports did reveal that he died by suicide from a gunshot wound to the head. And his attorney for the entire family, I guess is who he represents, told CNN that. And I have a lot of feelings about this.
I have a lot of feelings about this.
Tell me what your feelings are.
I feel like the family knew that he was guilty. He knew he was guilty, and they all knew, like, developed this plan of him like doing this, or like maybe it was his plan, and then they maybe couldn't talk him out of it, and so they helped him.
So I think because I had read a lot of different things that had just surfaced, and I don't, again, want to come on here and be a conspiracy theorist, whatever. But I think commentary is okay. And I read a lot of stuff that was talking about how it was very unsure right now with the FBI, other charges for other people that are involved. So I don't know how much validity there is to that. And the U.S. Attorney's Office had said that they weren't going to make like any further comments about it. So I just feel like if this was a closed deal, we know how he died, the book's closed, I feel like there would be like more closure to this than, does that make sense?
Yeah, wholeheartedly makes sense. Wholeheartedly believe that.
I just feel like there's way more to this than
anyone wants to talk about when they want to. Yeah.
And I just also, I can't let go of the fact that his parents were able to go like exactly to where he was.
Because they probably had like his coordinates.
There's something very, very odd about that. And do you remember seeing on the news, I know at one point, like you would stop following it because it just got like so crazy, but they had this bag that had this notebook that had supposedly been found. I would love to know, like, was there a suicide note in there? Was there a gun case in there? If there was a gun missing, like, why didn't we know about this before?
And who is it registered to?
Yeah,
did he always have it? Did he go home and get it? Whose name is it in?
Yes. And the attorney said that the parents had discussed several times that there was a great possibility that their son had died by suicide.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, so if they feel like that, there was so much money that was spent looking for him at that Carlton Reserve.
Yeah.
And people keep saying, oh, his body wasn't there all this time. People also have to remember that during the time that they were searching it, it was completely underwater. And so when his body was found, the area had like dried up at that point. So I think a lot of people are trying to make it seem like his body was like placed there. And I don't believe that. I do believe that it was underwater for a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that his body was placed there.
Yeah.
But maybe because they were familiar with that area, they knew that area flooded at some points.
Yes.
Like it wasn't the first time they had ever been there.
And you know what else was interesting to me, because when his body was found and they were talking about the dental records and how the dental records match. It was a match. I thought that we would never hear anything else about it. I thought it was going to be like one of those weird, like unsolved cases, like we would never know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And now we know all of this information, and I would just love to know what people think. Like,
I want to know what Chris Hansen thinks.
you do?
Yeah.
I also do.
Because I was like binging Killer Instincts over the weekend and just like rewatching a bunch of stuff, and I want to know what he thinks about it.
Do you
what?
You also feel like stuff like this in relationships, like I think a lot of people are so caught up in the fact of the small details of this case and like following every move of everything, but I think a lot of people are just like forgetting about the fact that like this started, in my opinion, as a domestic violence incident, and likely wasn't the first time that it happened.
Right.
The situation just turned bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he knew,
and it turned bad quickly. Like that was not, I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of things, they weren't even on the road very long.
I know. And all of the things that just like weirdly add up, was he one of those people that like was pre-planning some of this, and like they had been fighting and carrying on, and he knew that it would eventually come to this? Or was it truly like a snap situation? Was it, I just feel like it's so unfair, not for us as a public, because it's really not our business, but I guess the media has made it our business. But for Gabbys family, like for them to have answers, I think it is so unfair for them to just like not know anything.
Right. Like a timeline. Was it quick? Was it not quick? Because I think just like sitting with that is torture enough to like the unknown. You don't know how much she suffered or how little she suffered. And then your imagination is just kind of left to fill in the blanks. And that's got to be so difficult.
Yes. So wait, tell me, before Chris gets on here, you're watching Killer Instinct?
I was watching Killer Instinct. I listened and watched his podcast interview with Your Mom's House with Christina P. I looked up his book because I actually didn't know that he wrote one, and I found out in another interview. So I was like, okay, let me get that. So I was ordering that. And I just have so many questions. Like I saw all the listener questions, but I was like, while I was binging, I came up with so many more questions that I was like, okay, I don't even know if we're going to have time for everything. Like, I'm so excited to do this. And I just have like, there's just so much to unpack here. Like there's so much.
I just wish that I could catch a predator.
So maybe he'll let us tag along for a spoiler alert. There is like some sort of like reboot happening.
Wait, what?
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
And I asked him about it. I don't know if it's like a full reboot or if it's like maybe like a special or whatever, but like, I don't know. We saw Betty Crime by dinner time. We're basically Mary-Kate and Ashley. So I just feel like we should be given the chance to at least like do a ride along.
And I was going to say,
like, I'll be the bitch and go get all the Starbucks, like for the whole crew. Like, I don't care as long as I'm there.
I'll get the Dunkin'.
You get the Dunkin', I'll get the Starbucks, and it'll be great.
I love it. And for those of you who are listening who don't know about Chris Hansen, he is an investigative journalist, best known for his work on Dateline NBC's To Catch a Predator. For nearly 4 decades, Chris Hansen has been on the front lines of crimes, enterprise reporting, and breaking news all over the world. And most recently, he was an executive producer and reporter for, how do you say that?
Where?
The Unzen, how do you say that?
I didn't even realize you were reading this. Unseemingly?
No.
On I don't know. Onision in real life. Onision? Onision.
in real life and unseemingly I don't know how to say that either.
Peter Nagard.
Yeah. Hansen has also been a host and correspondent for the syndicated program Crime Watch Daily, as well as Killer Instinct on ID and Dateline NBC. And Chris's investigations are responsible for exposing some 400 men attempting to meet children online for sex. Hansen has been honored with 10 Emmy Awards, 5 Edward R. Murrow Awards, as well as Excellence in Reporting by the Overseas Press Club. I am just like amazed.
Blown away. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to know like how he was able to do all of this. And did it come from connections in TV that like allowed him to be able to have this kind of background, or is he just like this cool?
Well, where do we get started?
I don't know. Like, we need to get started with the fact that I'm definitely like Dateline and chill.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. I literally have a friend, his name's Nick, and his wife, they live in Michigan, and he'll literally DM me and be like, hey, did you watch the new episode on Dateline? And I'm like, he'll be like, hey, like this one's on, did you see it yet? And I'm like, oh my God. But he wrote the book. I'll let him tell you guys more, but he wrote the book about like the entire experience. And so I want to see if anything has really changed or if he could elaborate more, because I believe the book was written in like 2007. So it's been some time and he's done so much more, and he is joining us right now. So I'm going to let him in here right now.
Awesome.
Let's see. Hello. Hello, Chris.
Hang on.
Can you hear us?
Here. Mm-hmm. All right, I see you, but I don't hear you yet. Hang on one second.
Hit your sound button, and even though it might be on, I noticed like it won't work sometimes.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I can't hear you, so let me try something else. How about now?
I can hear you.
Okay, but I can't hear you. So how about now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
For some reason, I'm not getting you in my headphones. Let me figure this out here. Where would the audio? Is there an audio on this computer? I'm using a different laptop, so just bear with me for 1 second. I can't hear on my headphones.
Is that?
No, that's mute. Select the speaker. No. How about now?
I can hear you. Can you hear
All
me?
right, we've got it. Okay.
Hello.
Figured it out. Hello, how are you?
Well,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. I'm Kail, and this is my co-host, Lindsie.
Hey, Lindsie.
We are so excited to have you on Coffee
Thanks for
Convos
having me.
podcast.
Thanto for having me.
Chris, are we going to catch a predator today?
We are. I think it's you based upon that. You look like you're hiding out there in that comfy cozy there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so funny. So we were just talking about your book that you had written. I didn't know you had one. I listened to your interview on Your Mom's House with Christina P. and Tom Segura.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was catching up on everything, and it was a really great interview. So we just have so many questions for you.
Sure.
I binge watching Killer Instincts over the weekend because I didn't have my kids. They were all with their dads. So it was a Killer Instinct weekend for me.
Excellent. So I have a favor to ask of you guys too.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Gabrielle and I do a a podcast for Patreon, our Patreon channel. So
Sure.
we want to have you guys on that at some point.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. We will.
Cool. I knew it.
We'll catch a predator there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
We will catch all the
We'll all
predators.
team up. So That'd be awesome.
So where do you want to start? Because we have so much that we just want to unpack here.
Wherever you want. I've got coffee. I've got some seltzer water. I've got the day off. So I'm in good shape here. So rock and roll. Let's rock and roll.
The Christmas decorations in the background.
I know. How nice is that?
That's great.
Looking tree. I did it all myself, you know.
Oh yeah. I love that.
Does not look like you did that, Chris.
No, I did not do that. That's Gabriel. Watched. I should get some credit for watching, I think.
Yeah, of course. You were there, hanging out.
I was there.
Yes,
I tended the fire.
Exactly.
Caveman duties, you know.
Right.
So Chris, tell us about like how you became so cool to be a part of Dateline. Like, we are Dateline and chill.
Yeah, we love Dateline.
Chill.
Well, I started out in local news. Actually, I started out in college doing radio and newspaper a little bit, and then was really lucky while still at Michigan State University to get a job at the NBC station as a reporter part-time while I was going to school. And I made like, $4.95 an hour going to city council meetings and chasing fires and doing whatever I could do for 39 hours a week. And so when I graduated, they made me full-time, and Lansing was a great experience because it was a state capital, big university there. I worked for great people, a lot of fun. And so it all really started there, and went on to Tampa, was a reporter in Detroit for about 10 years. And then in 1993, got the opportunity to go to NBC in New York. And that's where it really began, I guess, from a network level, from a national perspective, was, being exposed to these big stories, these breaking stories, and having the ability and having a team to really assemble so we could go after these big stories. And I had a chance to pitch these big ideas like To Catch a Predator. And, I did that for 20 years, and it's allowed me now the capital to go do all these other projects, including new predator investigations, which are underway, and the podcast, which is, doing very well, and a lot of other television opportunities that we're, going to be able to announce after the first of the year.
Were you always interested in true crime, or was it your experience in news and things like that? Like you were saying, having access to break huge stories that gained your interest? Because I was always interested in crime and investigative. And I guess looking back at probably the seeds of that were sown because I grew up a mile and a half from where Jimmy Hoffa was last seen and presumably kidnapped at a restaurant in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. And I became fascinated with the Jimmy Hoffa story. Mm-hmm. And I used to ride my bike up there to the crime scene, and the yellow tape, and the FBI agents, and the local police, and the local reporters from Channel 7 Action News, and the network correspondents were there. And, I was in high school at the time, and I really got bit by the bug. And so when I went away to college, I signed right up for the radio station. And that's, besides hauling drywall and working as a baker's apprentice for 4 years in high school, it's the only job I've ever had, is to be a newsman, and to put together compelling, or what I hope are compelling, television shows. Sure. I also did radio, TV, film in school, and
it's great training, isn't it?
It is. You learn so
a lot of fun.
much. Yeah, I did the school newspaper. That was one of my little things. It wasn't paid or anything. I just did it for the experience. But we asked our listeners on Instagram for questions that they wanted to have you answer, and this is also a question of mine and Lindsay's. Is there one specific case that has stuck with you, whether it be, Killer Instinct or To Catch a Predator? Is there one specific one that has just stuck with you?
Well, there's so many, from Killer Instinct, I think it was Nightmare on Imperial Avenue, which was a story we did in this first season of Killer Instinct on ID, where we profiled a series of killings in one home in Cleveland on Imperial Avenue. And this is, around the time of the other big case in Cleveland, where the 3 girls were kept against their will for so many years. And through that, I've kind of gotten close to those survivors as well. But 11 women were murdered in that case. And the one who got away, who ended up being the key witness, agreed to do an exclusive interview with me. And it was one of the most compelling survivors interviews I have ever done, because she was able to get out of this madman's house. And on the way, she saw a headless body of another victim. And it was so chilling to hear her first person account of this, and her trying to figure out step by step going down the stairs how she was going to escape this. And the fact that she was brave enough to sit down and tell me that story was really, really amazing. And so many, it's hard to assign, a number to these things. I mean, obviously,
Right.
9/11 was compelling. Oklahoma City bombing was compelling. We're looking at, 25 years later after that. The Peter Nygaard investigation, the series that we have out now on Discovery Plus, just so disturbing that one human being could get away with this sort of predatory behavior for 5 decades.
Right.
The Onision in Real Life story, also on Discovery Plus. And so many of the things that we're digging in now, for future stories, it's never ended.
Right.
And I guess what drives me to do it is, my sense of curiosity and the fact that, I have been able to assemble, a catalog of sources in law enforcement and around law enforcement over the 40 years I've been doing this, that allow me access
Mm-hmm.
to tell these stories in a way that few other people can.
On your mom's house interview, or with Christina P., you said law enforcement wasn't always working with you though, right? So To Catch a Predator, at least in the
predator cases, yeah, in the beginning, the first 2 investigations we did, right, and we really didn't know what was going to happen. But the first one in Long Island, we did it, and 17 fellows surfaced in 2.5 days. And one of the cases was prosecuted by the FBI, but that's not the way the investigation was set up. We wanted to see if guys were willing to travel to a home in Bethpage, Long Island, after a conversation with a decoy from perverted justice, if they would come to the house to try to have sex with a child. And they did. And we did it a second time outside of Washington, D.C. And 20-some guys showed up there. And in that case, we went to the Fairfax County Police, and they did prosecute a number of the cases. The FBI prosecuted one of the high-profile cases, the Rabbi, David K. And at that point, we heard from the Riverside County Sheriff's Department in California, and we realized collectively, and I realized as a journalist, that we needed to change the template here.
Right.
It was socially irresponsible to do this sort of an investigation and let these guys, off into the wind, doing the 2-step twirling an umbrella.
Sure.
It was journalistically and from a television production standpoint, it was unfulfilling to the viewer to let these guys walk away without some sort of apprehension or police involvement. And I took some heat from that. And we were very careful to have an ethical wall between our team as journalists and law enforcement.
Sure.
But some old school journalists took issue with the fact that we worked too closely with law enforcement. And I understand that, but I was then willing to take that heat, and am today willing to take that heat, as we have, adapted our methodology in these investigations. I mean, imagine this. When we first did the predator investigations, we merely had decoys from perverted justice in chat rooms on AOL and Yahoo. That was it. That was it.
Right.
Today, what's out there, especially with young kids, the explosion of social media platforms upon which predators can approach children, and combine that with a pandemic where more kids are online for more time than ever before. Predators know that. Parents are busy trying to do their own thing. They may be in the same house, but they don't know what the kids are doing 24/7.
Right. Do you feel like that makes it harder to catch people online, or do you think it makes it easier because they're more open and they're online?
Well, I think it evens out. I mean, I think it's more challenging in that there are more platforms upon which this illicit activity is occurring. But I also think we've been able to elevate our ability to catch these people because of our technology. And we used to have to backload a trailer into a house with a whole control room. I mean, today we could do these things with iPads and, miniature remote cameras. So,
Sure.
and the people we use, we've changed, perverted justice isn't in existence anymore. So oftentimes we rely upon law enforcement decoys. And that seems to take, one of the difficult steps out of the process too. So that's what we've been doing in the recent investigations.
Have you ever been afraid of a predator that you've caught, or if not afraid, maybe nervous that they would retaliate?
We're getting close to 500 of these guys now. And there has been some retaliation, mostly online,
Okay.
attacks, misinformation campaigns, but that happens
Regardless.
if you're in my business for 40 years, right, somebody's going to try to gin something up on you. It's just
Of
the
course.
nature of the beast. You know that.
Mhm.
You're in the media limelight. But physically, there've been a couple moments face to face where I thought this could spill the wrong way and I'm out of position. And where's my security guy?
Yeah.
We had one incident in Flagler Beach, Florida, where a guy was a police officer and we had shut down the operation for the evening and he showed up later and we couldn't get there to turn everything on. So the cops ended up arresting him on a traffic stop. Turned out he had a 38 loaded in his pocket.
Oh, my
And
God.
in the car, he had a shotgun, a semi-automatic assault rifle, another handgun, and some 800 rounds of ammunition. So you
Terrifying.
worry, okay, a guy comes in with a gun. Now, we're pretty good about detecting who has the ability to have a gun. And we've had instances where we said, okay, this is too dangerous because of the firearms issue. We're going to let the police officers or the sheriff's department take them off before they come in. And we've done that too. I mean, there's no need. There's enough television in this. There's enough that we can produce without taking unnecessary risks. Look, the thing is edgy, right? And that's why people watch it. If it was easy, everybody could do it.
Mhm.
And there's a reason why it's so compelling. It's become so iconic is because we figured out a way to do something where we take people inside the commission of a felony. You watch it happen and the guy gets caught, virtually live on TV. And it's not easy to put all that together.
Right.
But
Lindsie
we
and I were
managed to do it over the years,
Lindsie and I were saying before you came on here that we would love to assist. I'll go get the coffees if I
Sure.
if I can be
Well,
included. I'll do the Starbucks run, but I
Absolutely.
definitely I want to be there on Are you guys thinking about rebooting the show or?
well, we are. It's
Okay.
it's already being done. It's
Okay.
we've shot some and we're in the midst of meetings and to determine exactly where that's going to go. But it's happening.
It's
not
so hard
if,
now
it's
because
just
I
when.
the cable and the streaming services, like so many, you don't know where people are watching at this point because there's so many options. And Lindsie and I are guilty of having all the streaming services because we gotta have our
we
crime,
do it. We
Dateline.
do it here too, and
Yeah.
we operate two households because I've got to be in New York for certain aspects of what I do for a living. And so we have an apartment in the city and we have a home in Michigan. And so, you try to get all things to all people at all
Yep.
places. And it's we've gone to streaming here
Mhm.
because we can get virtually everything we need that way.
Right.
But, it's a real decision as to where we want to agree exclusively to put this content on, because, there are people who know this series because of YouTube.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a reality. And so is that where you distribute? I put some of it up on the YouTube channel just as a sample of some of the investigations we've done in the last year, and, already 2 million views.
That's exciting.
So, and what's going to, people are going to want to see it. That's not the question. It's doing it in the absolute best way and having it on the absolute best, place.
Right.
Well, we are basically like Mary, Kate, and Ashley. We can solve any dinner time. Like we
Any
need to be
crime.
involved. Listen, females with podcasts can solve
Anything.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's happened, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. For sure.
It's look at how many crimes have been solved because of podcasts they're following. I mean, on Predators I've Caught with Chris Hansen, where we go back and look at some of these cases, we have found out amazing things about some of the guys I've caught. And we started, my producers, Joe Garner and Steve Cohen, said, you know what? We ought to just ask people to send their questions in, but do it and have them send in an audio file, you know? And we did it and became so popular that we ended up doing an entire episode just with people asking questions.
Oh yeah. And they have questions.
Oh yeah. And good ones too.
Yeah.
So, and as we, ramp up for the 2.0 of Predator, it's great to see all this interaction. And we hear a lot about the predators I've caught just from
like, where are they now?
Type of... Where are they? We do. Where are they now? Mm-hmm. And remember that in the heat of this, for the most part, looking back, I'm pretty satisfied with each individual interview, the hundreds that we've done. Like, given how frenetic and crazy it is, how paper is being slid under my eyes at the last minute, how, you're watching their hands, you're trying to think of an appropriate question, you're trying to get inside the guy's mind. With all that going on, I think generally speaking, I manage it pretty well. Mm-hmm. But you're going to miss stuff along the way. There's just no way around it. It's you do, in the case of Riverside, California, 51 interviews in 3 days with predators, you're going to miss something.
Right.
And so this is a way to do a couple of things. It's a way to go back and say, wow, let's pick this apart. Let's tell people what was actually going on behind the scenes when this guy walked in. 2, where is this guy today? There are some cases where these guys have rehabilitated themselves. There's some horrifying cases about guys who went on to, become repeat offenders and harm other children. And it's also a way for me to process it all, because, one of the most asked questions of me is, have you ever gone to therapy? Because of
that was on my list. I was going to ask you,
and I'll save it for when you ask it.
Yeah.
And we can get into it. Because it's an important issue. And I think mental health is often overlooked in so many areas of society today. But I only half jokingly tell people that, no, I have not gone to therapy, but the podcast in a way is a bit therapeutic in terms of going back and going through these things and reliving them in my own mind and soul and dealing with it in my own way. And so it is my little therapy in a way. And I don't pretend like I'm all shot up or banged up or bothered by it all. I mean, I've always handled dark material pretty well, I think. And
it's still hard. I can imagine there have been some where you've had nightmares. It was on my list.
Oh, yeah. And you're absolutely right. There have been. I mean, we had a guy who walked into Fort Myers, Florida. He was the last guy on a Sunday on a 3 or 4 day investigation. And, there's a rhythm to these investigations. And for this particular one, it was a bit of a relief that, okay, we're going to wrap. We've gotten, some incredible results. We have some amazing television. We're going to continue to create awareness and a dialogue that's never existed before. And here's the last guy. And he pulls up in his SUV and he goes to the back driver's side door as if he's going to get like a pizza and a 6-pack out of the back seat. And he reaches in and he grabs his 4 or 5 year old child, and walks this kid by the hand up the driveway into the predator house. And remember that, the guys in these investigations I've worked with for years in some of the darkest corners of the world, investigations in India and Africa, all throughout Europe, and, some heavy duty topics back in the day for Dateline. And there was a collective gasp. And just, oh my God, how do we handle this? And so he walks in with the child and I'm face to face with him. Clifford Wallach was the guy's name. I'll never forget it. And I said, look, you know why you were here. I know why you were here. I'm not going to drag you through it in front of your toddler child, but you need to get out of here and take care of business. And oh, thanks. Yeah, I'll never do this again. And off he walks, and the police were there, and the female police officer gently grabs the child and they arrest him, and just things like that. That, you know, I mean, maybe there are more violent characters with more graphic criminal histories than Clifford Wallach, but that one, and I don't think he was going to expose the child to any sexual harm or danger. I think he was going to put him in the next room with a you know, a DVD, probably, you know, while he did what he was going to do with a 14-year-old boy. But
To me,
the
that
fact that somebody would do that is just mind-boggling to me.
the level of disturbing, I think, even though there could be people that are, you know, far more gruesome stories or whatever, that is just so disturbing and unsettling.
Well, yeah. And, you know, again, guys were shell-shocked in the production team. I mean, and these guys don't, you know, they don't get flustered. They've seen a lot of stuff in their lifetime.
Go ahead, Lindsie.
I read on your bio that your investigations are responsible for exposing 400 men attempting to meet children for online sex. Is that a big majority of your work?
Well, I think it's really, if you look at the, you know, the 40 years of it, it's a small percentage. It's, you know, maybe 5 to 10% of my portfolio. I mean, it's what gets the most attention, clearly all the Predator stuff, but, you know, every Emmy, every overseas press club award has been for something else. And I'm okay with that. You know, at some point, and I have this conversation with, you know, my sons who are journalists and with young journalists, you know, when I talk to groups, it's like you have choices along the way. And sometimes you're going to find a story that will define you, even though you've done so much more than that, and you'll continue to do so much more than that. So you either have to accept that and embrace it and use it for all the good that it can provide, or you spend your life running away from it. And I've decided to embrace it because at the end of the day, whether I'm covering a mass murder or anything else, Predator is still going to get me in the door quicker than any other reporter. If I'm in the middle of Oklahoma covering a tornado and the sheriff's got a choice to help somebody out, he's going to help out Chris Hansen, the Predator guy. It's just plain and simple.
Right. I definitely.
And so, you know, you harness that energy for all it is. And, you know, did it prevent me from maybe going to 60 Minutes? Yeah, probably. But did I really want to do that, or did I want to do the path that I'm on? And I'm very comfortable with the path that I'm on.
I think you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
I did want to ask you, there's two questions I have. One, the difference between the men and women, because obviously on To Catch a Predator, it's mostly men. I don't think I've ever seen a woman on there.
Never.
What do you think the difference is between the mind of a man, the men who do this, and women?
I think, and based upon every conversation I've had with a psychologist or therapist or psychiatrist who deals with people in this world, it's because the female predator, you're more likely to see the scenario of a teacher student.
Lindsie and I have talked about that.
Because the female predator doesn't like the anonymity, whereas the male predator gets off on it.
Okay.
And, you know, doesn't mind this digital relationship, you know, over a webcam or, you know, in fact, a lot of the predators we find don't show up because all they want is this like sexual charge, fantasy over, you know, if they can get away with this online, you know, they won't get in the car and drive over. The vast majority of guys in our investigations, they get to the point where they can't stand this intermediate zone and they cross the line between fantasy and reality, and the next thing we know, they're knocking on our door. But in terms of female predators, we've never seen one in our investigations, and it's occurred, and I write about it in the book. But it's mostly the teacher-student scenario that you see.
Have you talked to the predators enough to know, or maybe you talked to their therapist, psychologist, is there a link between like childhood trauma and then who becomes a predator, or is it kind of just
Sometimes
anybody can be a child
it can
predator?
be that. And again, I'm not a therapist or,
Sure.
I just play one on TV, but I think based upon my experience, they break down into three categories. You've got the heavy hitter predator,
Okay.
child molester, who'd be doing this, whether it was 1920 or 2020.
Okay.
And they're either wired this way or they've had some trauma in their childhood that makes them this way. This would
Okay.
be the bad Little League coach, the bad Cub Scout leader, the bad whatever, hanging out at the movie theater. It's a hardcore, stone cold predator.
Sure.
Then you've got the younger guys who show up in our investigations who are 19, 20, 21 years old, socially inept. This is their only shot at having some sort of a sexually charged conversation with a female. They find somebody who's 13 or 14. They figure, well, this is wrong. I know it's wrong, but if it works out, maybe in a couple of years, it won't look so bad.
Right.
And they succumb to it.
Okay.
And those are probably the guys who can be fixed with probation and
Rehabilitation.
monitoring, just a big slap in the face. Don't do this anymore. It's more, it's not Romeo and Juliet, but and it could provide the same harm to a child as a 38-year-old. So
Sure.
it's bad, it's dangerous, it's criminal. And then you've got these guys who to me are the more interesting case studies. And these are the guys in between. These are the guys who have a propensity for this, an attraction to younger adolescent girls and boys, but probably wouldn't act upon it without the internet, without the addictive nature of the internet, without the 24/7 access, and without the anonymity. These guys wouldn't start a conversation like this face to face with a kid, but they'll do it online because
Like
there's
more
this
opportunistic kind of.
opportunistic, but then it leads to this blurring of the line between fantasy and reality. And that's when you see them knocking on our door. And it's, again, I've seen guys throw away careers over this. We had a guy in Petaluma, California, who was a doctor who worked for a company that was on the cutting edge of curing cancer. And here he is on a Saturday morning trying to meet a 13-year-old girl after chatting up another decoy posing as a young girl. And
I want to know what are they thinking? Like,
yeah,
what
he's
are
got a
they
wife.
thinking?
He's got a wife who's also a physician and 2 daughters at home. And why does he do this? Why does Walter Bappst, a teacher with a wife and children, show up in Riverside County, California to meet a teenage girl and claim that he's never done it before? And he's tortured about it. He's in his car. We can see him on the remote camera going back and forth, trying to get his wedding ring off, and threw his life away for this.
That's just amazing to me that people, I mean, I'm not saying that it should happen regardless of life circumstance, but you see these things happening with people with very successful careers that took a lot of education to get there, and they're doing this type of thing. Like, something is very wrong. I mean, are they wired wrong? Like Kail said, is this a trauma? Is this what causes them to act in that?
Right. And to children who can't defend themselves. I can't.
Right.
It's concerning too when you learn that these people have their own kids. I did hear you say on another interview that it's not necessarily that they're always abusing their own kids. Sometimes it's just, not that I shouldn't say it's just other kids, but it is other children. It
is. And and you're right. I understand where you're going with this. And that is that, they compartmentalize this sort of behavior. So in other words, they'll live a totally normal life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their wife might suspect something is off in their personal life, but they're providers. They go to work every day and they have this secret that they keep to themselves that involves their pretend online world. But once it crosses over into actually harming a child, that's not fantasy anymore.
No, that's real life.
And people will say, well, you induced this, or, if you were out there doing these investigations, they wouldn't do it. These guys are out there. They always make the first approach. I mean, and what is going to happen when it's not me or the FBI or law enforcement or ICAC around the country, and it is a real little girl, you know what happens? That child is scarred for life, damaged. And
Affects.
that guy got away with it, and he's going to do it again. And that we don't know how many times predators have gotten away with this, because the reporting on it, because of the shame and the embarrassment, is not where it should be.
You mean the reporting from the
victims, from the
Sure.
survivors? Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the same goes for rape, right? For adult women.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, you get ripped to shreds on the stand, you are victim shamed, you're victim blamed, you are all the above. And so it really deters people from wanting to report it.
Step forward. Yeah, absolutely.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Go ahead, Lindsie. I feel like you were about to say something.
No, it was completely off topic, but we have talked so much on our show about JonBenét Ramsey.
Sure.
And I just want to pick your brain. Like,
Absolutely.
What do you think happened?
You know, I covered it in the early stages. I was out in Boulder, and interesting story. We were actually interviewing John Douglas, the FBI profiler, former FBI profiler, on a book that he was coming out with. And it just so happened that at the time of that interview, he had been retained by JonBenét's family to help in the investigation of the case. And so, I mean, literally, the interview was okay, send Hansen to interview John Lindsie, because not John Lindsie, the profiler, because he covers crime, and it just so happened that it all came together at the same time to coincide with the JonBenét Ramsey case. So we do this, and he lets it slip during the interview that there was a ransom note for $189,000 or whatever the number, $192,000, whatever the number was, which was consistent with his bonus that year. And so we actually broke that story. And I don't know what to make of that case. I mean, I've watched all those shows since then. I haven't covered it in many years. And I just don't get the feeling that the dad was involved. I don't
either. I'm so glad you said that, because I also don't.
And that's gut, and that's not based on evidence, but I just don't see it.
Mm-hmm. I also don't.
And I don't have any, and I'm not trying to pretend that I have some insight, that I've spent time with him or I've interviewed him or anything like that. But I just, my sense is that he didn't have anything to do with it. My sense is that the kids didn't have anything to do with it. My sense is that it was something so bizarre and so random.
Do you think it was an outsider? I don't.
The crime scene was so muddled up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was so absolutely stepped over in so many ways that I don't know that we'll ever
have an answer,
understand exactly what happened to the truth. And I have a hard time believing the mother did it either.
I think she did.
I do think the mother was involved. I have a question for you.
Sure.
I guess.
I know the theories there. I know the
Sure.
theory about, being upset and overreacting and it being an accident and being a big effort to cover up the accident.
Sure.
And certainly you can't rule that out.
Sure.
But I have nothing personally that puts her in it.
So
besides what everybody's talked about as a potential scenario here.
Lindsie and I cover true crime bonus episodes for our podcast, and I wanted to ask
John Douglas is the proper name for the FBI
right,
profile.
not John Lindsie.
Yeah, John Douglas.
In the JonBenét Ramsey case, the parents, Patsy and what is the dad's name? John.
Yeah.
They retained separate lawyers. In the Casey Anthony case with Kaylee Anthony, the parents retained the same attorney. So I thought that the difference between the two was a little interesting, because I feel like when you hire separate attorneys, right, that's, to me at least, maybe you guys are conflicted and there's a possibility that you guys could go head to head. Whereas the Casey Anthony case, it was the same attorney. So they were on the same page about what they knew, the information they had, and they were aligned with wherever they stood. And so I was curious to get your opinion on that and see what you think about.
Well, I think that could be explained. And again, I'm not trying to defend anybody. And
Of
I
course,
did
of course.
interview Casey Anthony's parents for, or the mother's parents for Crime Watch Daily, but Casey Anthony's parents. But some of this can be explained by the fact that people of money and corporate CEO stature get advice from that level of folks, and there would be a school of thought that everybody should have their own lawyer to protect whatever as a precaution. I don't know. I understand what you're saying. You would think that both parents would be on the same page and have the same lawyer. That does strike me as a bit odd. If I had a missing child, I don't see why I would need a separate lawyer for my spouse.
Just
To me personally, it strikes me as excessive.
I feel like they had a lot of resources, and I think that if they wanted to cover something up, they had the resources to do it.
I think you're right, but I don't have the smoking gun or the bloody hammer to say this is what happened.
Well, Chris,
I know, so do I. I truly do. But it's really, I think that when you look back at how the evidence was so stepped on in that case from the very beginning of that investigation, it's shocking.
I think it was.
And this was, I don't think they knew what they had at first. And I think they had the B team in on Christmas morning in sleepy Boulder, Colorado, that doesn't have a murder. And, you had a wealthy, influential member of the community who had a missing kid. And it was a mess in terms of evidence from a crime scene from the very beginning.
Before you came on to Coffee Convos, we were giving an update on the Brian Laundrie case and them ruling it a suicide. And we also wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I want to know where the gun is now and why they haven't found it in that rural area where they found his body. I mean, the alligator's not going to eat the gun. Where's the gun? I mean, I know where the gun likely came from because there was a gun missing from the parents' house when they did the inventory back in September after Brian Laundrie disappeared. I have a lot of questions for those parents.
Would you interview them if they?
Oh yeah, I'm all over that case. We're working on that for a long time.
I'll also be the case. Starbucks runner for that one if you're ready for me.
It's that poor girl. I mean, they may have all had their issues emotionally and whatever, but how you could have your kid come home from a trip without the girlfriend who's been living with you essentially in your home and not have a deeper dive into, where's Gabby? I just don't understand that.
I think that we don't understand because there's a lot of information that we don't know. I think that the parents have sat on a lot of information and have not been forthcoming. And I think they have the answers. We just don't.
I tell you what I thought was insightful. ABC did a piece where they used virtually every bit of the body cam footage from the police officers who responded to the domestic call on the side of the road that day. And because so much of it was used, they really didn't have a lot of other exclusive material or any great new information, but it gave you insight into the amount of time local law enforcement in Utah spent trying to sort this out and analyzing the law and were they doing the right thing. And in the end, it was just so ironic to me that they ended up putting Brian Laundrie in protective care and sort of leaving her, the emotionally distraught one, to fend for herself, which made her even more dependent on Brian Laundrie in the next days when arguably she met her demise.
Do you think that it was premeditated or do you think it was a snapped situation?
I think it was a snap situation. And again, I don't have any particular insight into it. It just, when you look at a domestic situation with two people who've been living in the same van for so long. When you look at the manner of death and the cause of death, strangulation, it's a very personal manual strangulation. I mean, you got to want to try to kill somebody. It says something when somebody does that.
I think I read something somewhere that says something along the lines like choking or strangling someone is usually the biggest red flag before someone kills you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Unquestionably.
Which is terrifying. And
Yeah.
my heart goes out to them. I just wish that.
Oh, but to that poor family, I mean, and
We
here
have no
you've got
answers.
the mother and father, are in different relationships now, but they all came together as a team, to speak not only for Gabby, but to, speak for other missing young women who obviously have been tangled up in domestic violent situations. And it just your heart goes out to them, because all these people want are answers. They want to know, they thought they were being good parents, and the girl's an adult.
Right.
You can't say, no, you can't go with your boyfriend on this adventure where you're going to potentially become social media stars and create a living for yourselves. And it's an adventure.
Right.
They can't stop that. You can't protect your kids once they're adults necessarily the way you want to. And there should have been no harm. She was with the guy who was supposed to protect her, and that ended up being the guy who killed her.
Right. So sad.
Wait, so Kail and I just covered this past month Casey Anthony. I didn't know that you interviewed her parents. So what was that like?
They were nice people. I mean, they really felt betrayed by her.
Understandably so.
And they really didn't have much of a relationship with her, since all that went down. And you got the feeling after finishing, I mean, it was an emotionally draining interview. I mean, they laid it all out there. This was probably 3 years ago.
So that's pretty recently.
Yeah. And it was probably 2017, 2018. And they feel betrayed, and they don't have a relationship with her. At least they didn't at the time of the interview. And they did give me the sense that, she got away with something.
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't imagine being such a pathological liar. Like, Kail and I were talking about this, and I don't know if you see this with other predators or people that you investigate, that she was so willing to just ride out her lies. Like, all the way, the one that really stands out in my mind is her employment with Universal, and like how she was so willing up until the last second, until she had no other choice other than to say, like, I don't work here. She was so willing to just ride it out.
Well, and the other thing that just shocked me about that case was how she seemed to enjoy the celebrity.
Yes.
That this crime gave her.
Yeah.
And it was almost like she was loving every moment. And I'm thinking, you're being suspected of killing your own child.
Yes.
And then running off and living a life and like getting rid of this child, like she was so much of a detriment to your social life and dating life. And that's what was so offensive to me.
The one thing that was weird to me that I brought up to Lindsie when we covered the case was the way that the information was publicized was that the mom was not going to allow Casey to give up her daughter for adoption. But then why didn't the grandparents raise Kaylee if Casey wanted to go do what she wanted to do? So I did think that was a little weird. I think there's a lot to be said about believing women who don't want to be, mothers. You have to believe them. You have to let them make their choice so that, if they want to give the baby up for adoption, maybe that is the best case scenario for the child. So it's just a series of really, really unfortunate events.
Oh yeah.
And I was re-infuriated when we were covering the case, because I had watched it live, and even her, the verdict. I remember, and I had a son at that time, I was a young mom. So I had a 1-year-old when this was going on. And I was just like, I cannot imagine. I was 17, 18 years old, and I could not imagine, my son being gone for 30 to 31 days and not knowing where he was. Just heartbreaking and infuriating all at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Do we think in that particular case that when she was referring to Zanny, do you think that was like a very callous way for her to be referring to Xanax, or do you think that it really was a nickname that she had just made up?
In terms of the babysitter, Zanny, yeah. My recollection of the case is that was a reference to Xanax.
I'm just like, how, and you're right. She really did like thrive in the idea of like,
oh, this made her famous.
Yes.
She get dolled up for the cameras, enjoyed every TMZ moment of it.
Yeah, that it's all so wild to me. I would love to know when, do you have any updates on when you're going to do your reboot, or you can't tell us?
It's all being discussed now. We didn't have much going on in terms of meetings over the Thanksgiving week, but now that we're back in action, we should know pretty soon. I would think by the end of the year.
I just ordered your book off Amazon yesterday, and
oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So I didn't know that you wrote a book until I heard it on that when you were interviewing with Christina and Tom. So I'm super excited about getting it. Do you think that you'll write another one?
Yeah, I'm being bugged to do that right now. And the first book I wrote, it was a pretty tight deadline. I mean, I had help with it and all that, but we turned it around in 4 months. And I didn't take any time off. I mean, I was literally writing that book.
Yeah.
When predators were coming.
Sure.
In between predators showing up at the door during the investigations. And I had a great editor, experienced writer, Laura Palmer, helped me with that book. And it was great. And that's how we were able to do it so quickly.
Sure.
But yeah, people are barking at me to do either to do an update to that or to do another book about, all the crime stuff. So in fact, it was funny because I'd sent an email to my literary agent just last week saying, hey, let's get together and talk about the next. It's very intense writing a book. I don't know if you've ever tried it.
It took me 2 years when I wrote my first book. It took me 2 years because it's like, it's therapeutic in some ways, but then the deadlines kind of throw you off. And
I'm a funny writer too, when it comes to like, I can write a television script or radio script, or you can put a camera in front of me and I can talk to you for an hour with no script. It's not a problem.
Sure.
But a book, I mean, first of all, being a television reporter and writer ruins your punctuation and grammar, because the only punctuation you use is a ellipsis, ... And so Laura Palmer's first job was to say, okay, the punctuation goes within the quotation marks, and it's like, yeah, well, whatever. People are going to read this, not just hear your voice. So, but I would write like 18 hours a day, and I had editors barking at me and agents barking at me, and NBC was barking at me to get it done and get it past us. And literally the last week was Thanksgiving, however many years ago, and a dozen years ago, probably. And I wrote Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 18 hours a day, literally straight through. I did one day at the office, one day at home, and just cranked through it, and came home that Sunday night and had a sandwich and a glass of wine and just passed out. Got up the next morning, wrote the 7-page forward and hit send on the computer. I was never so glad to finish anything. And it was great. I'm very, very proud of it. And I referred to it for the podcast today, and it was a good book and a good publisher. The whole deal was great, but it was a lot of work. And so as I considered doing another book
with all your free time, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you have so much free time now.
Well, it focuses you though, and everybody's got time for it, and everybody's got a book in them. And I've got a lot to say about a lot of things, including the Predator franchise. But I don't know. I guess I'll do it. I was thinking
I
I'd
think you
wait
should.
another
I
10
vote
years.
yes. I vote yes.
All right.
We love that. So other
get
than
on it.
that, is there anything else that you're working on right now that you can share with us?
We've got the podcast. We're in discussions. You know, the media world is shifting now in terms of, you know, who's working
I'm
together and corporate wise. And so I think there are a lot of exciting opportunities there that we're in the midst of discussing. And you know, I think 2022 is going to be a big year for Hansen versus Predator, and Have a Seat with Chris Hansen, and Takedown with Chris Hansen, and all these new projects. So I think it's
That's so
cool.
exciting. I'm subscribed to your podcast right
Oh,
here.
thank you. Perfect.
Yeah. So and it was updated today. So you have a new episode.
Yeah, I just dropped one today. Actually, this is a good one. This is the one, and it was a Predator first, because it was the first time that two guys showed up at the same time in the same place where I did the interview at the same time.
Oh, wow.
It was a bit of a for Predator aficionados. This is a history making.
That one sounds familiar. I'm excited to listen to it.
Tennis Boy 213 and Slaves to Mistresses.
If you're ever in the tri-state area, Delaware, Maryland,
Sure,
Pennsylvania, call me. I will be there to help run and get Starbucks, whatever y'all need.
Absolutely. So how old is your puppy there?
Well, you know, she's quite annoying right at this moment.
Yeah. So this is Gabrielle. This is the puppy that Gabrielle
God.
wants, by the way.
Oh my God. Hi.
Hi, she is 9 weeks old. She's a mini golden doodle, and she has eaten my hands off while we've been doing this interview. So
chewing her hands off.
She's so cute.
she's
Her
this
name is Georgia.
She's
That's great.
Is it a doodle of some sort?
Yeah, she's a micro mini golden doodle.
Oh my
It
God.
looks like a little puppet.
She's so
cute.
cute.
Yeah, she's very cute, but very high maintenance so far.
Yeah, that's the age.
And you have a son, right, Lindsay?
I do. Yeah, he's almost 9.
He's almost 9.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that his like obsession? And
Oh yeah, like they're obsessed with each other, and it's like so cute sometimes, but then also I'm like, okay, you guys need to separate like real children, you know, like separate, do your own things, but they've really been enjoying their time together so far.
Oh, good.
and you don't need a sibling, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I sometimes think dogs are more work than children.
Oh,
you
I
know?
say that all the time. We literally
Yeah.
talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your baby, you put in a crib, you put him in
The
a car seat.
diaper.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, if I would
Right.
put her in her crate while we were doing this, we wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Look at him, look at you. He's
Yeah.
so cute.
Right, Georgia?
Georgia. What a great name too.
And I'm sure your son like does all the poop scooping and right.
No.
Right. No, they promise, right?
Yeah.
Look, our kids the youngest are 20, almost 22 and 20. And we still haven't done it. My son's allergic to everything. I'm sure they'll be in therapy for the rest of their life because we didn't get them a dog, but you know,
I want a bulldog. That's what I want.
I have a French bulldog.
Oh,
oh,
great.
so cute.
They're also high maintenance.
But such characters,
They
right?
are. Yeah, no, they're characters for sure.
Yeah. So cute.
Look at Georgia playing in her hair.
Yeah, like I say, I woke up to
It's a new
Jack.
toy.
It's so cute.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. And
we'll have you on the Patreon podcast.
yes, awesome. We will
we'll get
talk
that
to you
book for-
soon.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy.
See ya.
All right.
Yeah.
See ya.